So the first exercise, if you want to build bigger triceps with bands, is a banded dip. But no, you don't need one of these, because if you have access to one of those, you're probably already in a gym. You're really not looking for banded exercises. But I can show you a different way to do it. So you can hook this band around your neck and then push down and keeping your elbows tight to your side and your elbows back behind the body. This will give you a good activation of all three heads of the triceps. And again, you can vary the resistance you have here based on the thickness of the band that you're using. Now, by all means, if you have access to this or just want to do it even in a kitchen counter or corner, you still do the same thing. You hook that band around your back, under your hands, and start repping out. So next up, in sticking with the theme of minimalism that I think bands demand, we're going to talk about something called the JM press here. And all you got to do is wrap the band around your back like this, and then just allow your elbows to fold back so that your forearms are going back towards your biceps. And what this does is it obviously causes the same type of extension that we get in a typical barbell JM press and limits a lot of the resistance to that upper portion of the press, which is really where the triceps do most of the work anyway. This is particularly helpful for building up the lateral and medial heads of the tricep, and again, requires nothing more than the floor you're laying on. So next is the first of two different push-up variations. And we know that push-ups will build the triceps, particularly if we take our hands from a wider position and we start to narrow them up. And maybe so narrow as we get to that diamond cutter position that we talk about. And all you gotta do is take this band and wrap it around your back. And now when we get into that close grip position, we're gonna have resistance right here at the top of every rep. And again, we know that the triceps are most contributory right here at the top of every rep, so if we can overload them with additional resistance, then we're on our way to building bigger triceps. And remember guys, muscles don't necessarily know the difference between barbells, dumbbells, and bands. As long as the resistance is there, well, now we're talking. And so the fourth exercise up here is actually a reenactment or a replication of one of my favorite tricep exercises, and that's the tricep extension. And what we got here is just the need for one little anchor point here for the band that you wrap around and pull through. And now when I get down here, I'm looking to get that good stretch on the triceps to start, come up, extend, and hold. And what you might realize is that there's actually more tension at the end of this exercise than there normally would be if your arms were positioned up here over your body, like we talked about with the regular line tricep extension. But here, because the maximum resistance here is on the triceps in this peak contracted position, we're getting a really good overload and replicating what's already a great exercise and making it adaptable for bands only. And so if you're training in a limited equipment environment and you find these band videos helpful, make sure you watch the playlist I put together for you at the end of this video and subscribe. And also if you're looking for a 90-day complete band-only program, we have one called ATHLEAN-X. It's over at ATHLEAN-X.com. Now back to the video. And so exercise number 5 is actually the beloved kickback, or maybe people hate the kickback. But with a band, it actually allows you to do some things that you can't necessarily do with just dumbbells. And that is start the resistance a little earlier. And the beauty about this is that, again, I'm getting resistance against the triceps from this position here, where I normally wouldn't have it in a traditional dumbbell weighted variation of this. And when I get to the top, I still have good resistance against the triceps in that peak contracted state, making it a good option when you're trying to overload the long head of the triceps in its fully shortened state. But of course, if you want to get that full engagement on the triceps, you don't just want to get that long head targeted in its contracted position, we also want to put it on stretch. And one of the best ways to do that is with the overhead extension. And the band allows us to do some cool things. And what I want you to do is just kind of back into the band. Right, lay it on the floor and then step back into it. Key is you want to get the elbows slightly pointed out in front of you. Not all the way to the side like this. I can stretch your shoulder. You get them out this way, and then we just start to extend the hands. And again, this is actually nice because on a traditional dumbbell, when we get towards the top, we're actually losing some of the resistance against the triceps. Whereas with the band, because the band is getting more and more and more stretched and there's more and more tension to get to the very top position here, we actually have to exert more force. So the band acts in a complementary way to accentuate an exercise that's already effective, making it worth your while. And that brings us to our push-down variations. Just because you don't have access to a cable machine doesn't mean you can't do them. You just flip them over the top of a pull-up bar like that, pull one side in, and you're ready to go. And what you do is you wrap one hand in and grab the band, the other hand in and grab the band, and now you got a cable pushdown. But what I want you to do is do a wood chopper pushdown. And that is you come down towards one side. And the benefit of being able to do this is that you're getting more total body power to be able to use a really heavily resisted band here, but more importantly, I can get that one arm a little further back behind my body. And we already know that the further the arm goes behind the body into extension, then the more of that long head we're also incorporating with the medial and the lateral head. So if I can go back and forth here and use a little bit more of this total body English, I can get a heavier band to be able to be used here and replicate more effectively what I would normally be using on a typically heavily weighted tricep pushdown. For the next exercise, you need to find a middle anchor point, right? Something about shoulder height. You simply wrap your band inside, and we're gonna perform a push-away variation. A lot of times people perform their push-aways this way, but they lose a lot of the tension on the triceps. Instead, you wanna be very upright, and then you're gonna extend your arms straight up overhead. And because that band is more perpendicular to those forearms at the top, we know we have good tension on the triceps. But we can take it a step further with a plus. And what the plus is by having that back foot behind me, I can step through at the end while holding in this isometric position. So here, and then back, and extend down. Come up, take a plus step to resist that further, come down, and reset. Up, plus through, and back down. So the band here is almost self-correcting, allowing you to do the push away the way you're supposed to do it in the first place, and giving you some of that added tension because of the plus when you least wanted it, but can most benefit from it. Now, if you wanted to encompass more and make it more overall conditioning based, you just change your anchor point to a low one, feed it through your band, and now we've got a twisting lunge and push away. So we can actually fit this nicely into a conditioning circuit and still work our triceps. And you start by holding on to the band with two hands like this. You're gonna lunge out and then extend up overhead. So you step in, out, and press, all in one nice smooth motion. But again, when you're looking to train your triceps, you don't always have to do it in isolation. You can include it in a more total body exercise experience here to benefit in more ways than one. Not just hypertrophy, but also with more global conditioning benefits as well. And of course, we can go back to the floor once again for another push-up variation, this one the Cobra Push Up. And what we do is we still have that band wrapped around our back, but instead this time of having our hands close together, we're gonna focus on keeping them further apart, but watching the relationship of the elbows to the body when we perform the push-up. Because for the Cobra, you wanna keep them really, really tight and allow them to drift back behind you into extension. As we talked about before, we know we can get better long head contraction if that elbow can be behind the body when the elbow is straightened. The Cobra Push-Up allows you to do it, and of course the addition of the band here is giving you that added resistance to take a normal bodyweight version to that next level of muscle building. Remember, band training doesn't mean inferior training. If you know how to apply the resistance, you can keep those gains coming. I mentioned the playlist, guys. We have a complete playlist of all the band training videos you're gonna wanna check out here. If you want one specifically targeted at your chest, you're gonna wanna make sure you watch that. As I mentioned, if you're looking for a complete 90-day program where we use nothing but bands, it's called ATHLEAN-X over at ATHLEAN-X.com. Remember, guys, to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a video when we put it out. See you soon.